So we're going to start off with a little intro. Amen. All right. Thank you. All right, so we're going to start off with James 1 and 2. My brethren, let not many of you become teachers, knowing that we'll receive a stricter judgment. For we all stumble in many things, and if anyone does not stumble in the word, he is a perfect man, able to also bridle the whole body indeed. Indeed, we put bits in the horses' mouths, and that they may obey us, and we turn their whole body. You know, this is a warning that not many of you become teachers. Such as me myself. Why? Because we all stumble in many ways, such as me myself. I've been at this for quite a while now, quite a number of years. And I can honestly say that I still stumble. You know, and that I'm not infallible.
All right now.
And today, today's lesson is centered about that because I have to apologize because I do believe I made a mistake, a big one.
Okay.
Nevertheless, I still believe it was part of the journey. You know, and so I apologize. But I also feel like Ezekiel, even at this moment. Why do I feel like Ezekiel? Well, let's take a look at what Yah said to Ezekiel. Ezekiel 2, 3 through 3:1. It says, and he said unto me, Son of man, I send thee to the children of Israel, to a rebellious nation that have rebelled against me. They and their fathers have transgressed against me, even unto this very day. For they are impudent children and stiff-hearted. I do send thee unto them, and thou shalt say unto them, Thus saith the Adonai Yahuwah. And they, whether they hear or whether they forbear, for they are a rebellious house, yet shall know that there have been a prophet among them. And thou, son of man, be not afraid of them. Yes, Father. Neither be afraid of their words. Yes, Father. Though briars and thorns be with thee, and thou doest well among scorpions, be not afraid of their words, nor dismayed at their looks, though they be a rebellious house, and thou shalt speak my words unto them, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear, for they are most rebellious. But thou, son of man, hear what I say unto thee, be not thou rebellious like the rebellious house. Open thy mouth and eat that I give thee. And when I looked, behold, an hand was sent unto me, and lo, a scroll of a book was therein. And he spread it before me, and it was written within and without, and there was written therein lamentations and mourning and woe. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, eat that thou findest, eat this roll, and go speak unto the house of Israel. I've been eating.
Hallelujah.
And I'm here. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, all my words that I shall speak unto thee, receive in thine heart and hear with thine ears. And go, get to them of captivity unto the children of thy people, and speak unto them and tell them, Thus saith the Adonai Yahuwah, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear. I said, Yes, Father. Verses 17 through 21, chapter 3. Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore hear the word at my mouth, and give them warning from me. When I say unto the wicked, thou shalt surely die, and thou givest not givest him not thy warning, givest him not warning, nor speakest to warn the wicked from his wicked way, to save his life. The same wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at thine hand. Yet if thou warn the wicked, and he turn not from his wickedness, nor from his wicked way, he shall die in his iniquity, but thou hast delivered thy soul.
Hallelujah.
Again, when a righteous man doeth turn from his righteousness and commit iniquity, and I lay a stumbling block before him, he shall die, because thou hast not given him warning. He shall die in his sin, and his righteousness which he hath done shall not be remembered. But his blood will I require at thine hand. Nevertheless, if thou warn the righteous man that the righteous sin not, and he doeth not sin, he shall surely live, because he is warned. Also thou hast delivered thy soul.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
So I have to tell you that this message is partly for selfish reasons, because I want to deliver my soul.
Yes. Hallelujah.
Amen.
Amen.
So whether you hear or whether you forbear, I'm going to do my job.
Hallelujah. That's key.
Like Ezekiel, I feel I've been given a scroll to eat. But unlike Ezekiel, I've been given multiple scrolls. And I've been chewing on them for the last 4 months. And this was a big part of the fasting and consecration that I asked you all to join me in with. To join in with me with. You know, because as a truth seeker, I was seeking for the truth.
Hallelujah.
And I believe I found it. My soul is settled.
Hallelujah.
My spirit is at peace about it. But some of you may get rattled. Because, once again, I'm going to have to ask you, can you spare some change? I don't need your coins in your pocketbook. I'm asking, can you spare some change in the way you live your life, in the way that you serve God?
Yes.
Can you spare some change? Now, those of you who have been around for a while, I know you know where I'm going with this. And I know you probably like, oh no, not again. But I'm afraid I have to say, yes, again. And what I'm talking about is the Creator's calendar. The topic of the Creator's calendar. You know, this is a problem within the body of Yahshua, especially the Sabbath keepers. It keeps the body of Yahshua divided. I think I get the most questions about the calendar. You know, I get the most questions about the calendar, and hence, you know, I've led on to just a couple people in some very, very sly way, because, you know, I didn't want to, you know, to reveal anything before I had anything to reveal, or before I was sure. You know, but I've been studying this topic for the last 4 months, pretty in-depthly. And in all actuality, I'm still doing research. But like I say, my soul is settled. My spirit is at peace about it. You know, and I know, or knew, I have to tell you guys. Otherwise, my butt is online. You know, so you know, this is the other part of the fasting and prayer that I was trying to get you guys to join me in. You know, so when it comes to the calendar issue? Do we have it right or wrong? Or does it depend? The truth of the matter is, it depends on who you ask. And if you ask the Sunday keepers, they say they have it right. If you ask the Saturday keepers, they say they have it right. You ask the Sabbath keepers, they say they have it right. So it really do depends on who you ask. You know, and I've asked them all. But they're all the wrong ones to ask. If we really want to know, we need to ask Elohim. You know, and that's concerning anything you want to know, especially dealing with him. Because the creator of a thing has dominion over it. This is a maxim, you know, meaning an immutable law. Yah created us, he has dominion over us. What he says is right, is what's right. It doesn't matter how we feel about it. It doesn't matter how it seems to us. It doesn't matter how it makes us feel or think. It doesn't matter how much we like it or dislike it. The creator of a thing has dominion over it, and what he says is right is what's right concerning it. Because only he knows how he made it and for what purpose. You know, so I understand this is a very hot topic for Sabbath keepers. You know, and so on the back table, you'll find some paper. If you have any questions, once you get the paper, write it down, put it in the offering box. And this is not going to be one lesson. It's going to be a series. And so I'll try to address the questions as we go along. You know, the questions you put in today, if there's any questions in there, I'll try to address them the next time I speak, and so on and so forth. You know, so that said, I came to the conclusion that, hey, we're coming at this issue from the wrong approach. That's a big part of the problem. We've taken it from the wrong approach. Yeah, we've been doing what's sensible, you know, and we'll get into that later, but it's the wrong approach. You know, we have to ask Elohim. And so I had been asking Elohim, and I kept asking, and I started praying, and I was fasting, and I was asking, you know, and so I wasn't hearing anything, and I knew I was on top of my square. I knew I was doing good. I wasn't falling short, you know, and so I had to come to the conclusion that could only mean one thing, and that was I already had the answer. Y'all had already told us. You know, and so it began to make me start thinking, and I began to think, and I began to say, okay, y'all, you know, talk to me. I got to get out my flesh. I got to get out my carnal mind. I got to look with my spiritual eyes and think with my spiritual mind, you know. And so I asked the Father, and the Father said, you know, he said, no man can come to me except by my Son. And I said, okay. And so that's one of my favorite passages. So, you know, I understood where he was going with that because it was one of my favorite passages. Yochanan 1:1 says, in the beginning was the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. I said, hallelujah. I say, okay, so if I want to ask Elohim, I can't get to Father Elohim the Father, unless I go through the Son. And the Son is the Word. So if I want to ask Elohim the Father, then I have to go through the Son, the Word. So I had to ask the Word. See, I didn't know I already had the answers. I had a whole book full of answers. See, and I was waiting to hear a voice, see a vision, get a dream, have some number point me in the right direction. But y'all said you can't get to me. but by my son. I say, okay, I know your son is the word. So this time we're going to do this thing right. It's kind of like David when he tried to bring the ark into the tabernacle. We're going to get it right the second go round. You know, the first time he failed because he didn't do it right. The first time I was asking and I was doing what I thought was right, even as David did, but it wasn't right. And so Uzzah died. Who's Uzzah? Our strength. But this time we're going to get it right.
Hallelujah.
Because like under David, this time I decided we're going to ask Elohim. We're going to ask the word. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to ask the word. But before we do, you need to understand a concept that remains. You know, and that is Elohim is good all the time. He never changes. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. We have to know this. You know, we need to understand this concept, especially concerning this issue. For many people hold to the fallacy that if it isn't presented plainly, it isn't there. Or they hold to the opinion, to the erroneous notion that, you know, if it's of Yah, then it would be simple. But simple isn't the way Yah do things. I don't know how much you're in the scripture, but simple is not the way Yah do things. Just think about, you know, when Yahshua was on the earth. You know, the Pharisees, scribes, and Sadducees was constantly coming at him, asking him, "Are you the Messiah? You know, are you the or not? Just tell us plainly." And he wouldn't tell them. But then other folks, he told them straight up, like the woman at the well, you know, or the guy who was born blind. You know, and so just thinking about that, you can see that's not simple. You know, now what I concluded from that is those who should have known better, he didn't tell.
That's right.
But the ones who didn't know, such as the Samaritan woman or the guy who was born blind, he let know. But the ones who had the word, the book of answers, he didn't tell anything. He told them, but he didn't tell them directly. He said, you know, either believe what I say or believe the works that I do. See, and they didn't believe the works that he did. Neither did they believe what he said. You know, and I don't want us to be guilty of the same thing. You know, so I want you to understand that, you know, Yah never changes. He's immutable. And that's a real important concept to understand because, you know, whatever he does, it does not change. Even as he don't change. You know, so I asked his word, you know, and I asked his word, I said, well, which way am I supposed to go with this? You know, and then, you know, he showed me the good shepherd. You know, so Father told me that I had to ask the Son. The Son told me, you know, that I had to follow the good shepherd. And of course, the good shepherd is the Son, who is, of course, the Word. So basically what he was saying is that the Word has to shepherd, is going to shepherd us. You know, and if we're good sheep, we'll follow the good shepherd. And his sheep knows his voice. Amen? Amen. So we're going to see how many good sheep we have. You know, so I began to ask the word. So I asked the word. I said, yeah, you know, okay. Where am I supposed to go? Where do I start with this calendar issue? And he said, well, who did I entrust it to?
Hallelujah.
I said, okay. So I asked the word, and the word told me in Leviticus 10, verses 8 through 11, and Deuteronomy 17, 8 through 11. Can my first reader read Leviticus 10, 8 through 11, and Deuteronomy 17, 8 through 11?
And Yahuwah spake unto Aaron, saying, Do not drink wine nor strong drinks, thou nor thy sons with thee, When you go into the tabernacle of the congregation, lest ye die, it shall be a statute forever throughout your generations, and that ye may put difference between holy and unholy, and between clean, unclean and clean, and that ye may teach the children of Israel all the statutes which Yahuwah has spoken unto them by the hand of Moses. And there arise a matter too hard for thee in judgment, if there arise a matter too hard for thee in judgment, between blood and blood, between plead and plead, between stroke and stroke, being matters of controversy within thy gates, then shalt thou arise and get thee up into the place which Yahuwah thy Elohim shall choose. And thou shalt come unto the priests, the Levites, and unto the judge that thou shalt be in those days, and inquire, and they shall show thee the sentence of judgment. And thou shalt do according to the sentence which they of that place, which Yahuwah shall choose, shall show thee. And thou shalt observe to do according to all that they inform thee, according to the sentence of the law which they shall teach thee, and according to the judgments which they shall tell thee. Thou shalt do. Thou shalt not decline from the sentence which they shall show thee, to the right hand nor to the left.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Okay, so we asked the word, right? And Yahuwah tells us, the word tells us that Yahuwah told Aaron, that he's to put the difference between holy and unholy, between clean and unclean. That he was the one that was supposed to teach the children of Israel all the statutes which Yahuwah had spoken unto them by the hand of Moshe. So in other words, it was that Aaron and his sons, they were the ones that were supposed to teach Torah. Amen?
Amen.
And the calendar issue is a part of Torah.
Right.
Okay? Now, Deuteronomy 17, taught us, it says in verse 8, if there is a matter too hard for thee in judgment. I think that pertains to the calendar issue. If there is a matter too hard for thee in judgment, it's a very difficult subject and for us to sort out. We know the present day Yahudim, we know that their calendar isn't right. They even admit that it's not right. So that's a fact. So then, like, okay, well, what do we do now? Now the thing is, he says, if a matter is too hard for thee, and if it's a matter of controversy, and Yah knows it's definitely a matter of controversy within the gates, and it says, that you're supposed to go to the priests, the Levites, and they will show thee the sentence of judgment. And thou shalt do according to the sentence which they of that place, which Yahuwah shall choose, shall show thee. Speaking to his tabernacle and eventually his temple. So we're to go to the priest. Okay, and so once I understood that, I said, okay, Yah, I understand. I'm supposed to go to the priest. But then my question became, Aaron had two sons. Which one do I go to? When we look in Numbers 3, 2 through 4, it says, these are the names of the sons of Aaron, Nadab, the firstborn, and Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. These are the names of the sons of Aaron the priest, which were anointed, whom he consecrated to minister in the priest office. And Nadab and Abihu died before Yahuwah when they offered strange fire before Yahuwah in the wilderness of Sinai, and they had no children. And Eleazar and Ithamar ministered in the priest office in the sight of Aaron, their father. Okay, can I have my next reader read Exodus 29, 4 through 9, please?
And Aaron and his sons thou shalt bring unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and shalt wash them with water. And thou shalt take the garments, and put upon Aaron the coat, and the robe of the ephod, and the breastplate, and grind him with the curious girdle of the ephod. And thou shalt put the mitre upon his head, and put the holy crown upon the mitre. Then shalt thou take the anointing oil, and pour it upon his head, and anoint him. And thou shalt bring his sons, and put coats upon them, and thou shalt gird them with girdles, Aaron and his sons, and put the bonnets on them. And the priest's office shall be theirs for a perpetual statute, and thou shalt consecrate Aaron and his sons.
Okay, so one thing you need to understand about the priesthood is that there can only be one high priest. So Aaron was the original high priest, so he had the ultimate say over the priest. Amen? Okay, now Aaron had 2 sons left, Nadab and Abihu died. You know, so that left him with 2 sons as acting priests, Eleazar and Ithamar. Amen? Okay, now, the thing is, one of these, either Eleazar or Ithamar, would become high priest. Whoever is the high priest is the one who has the ultimate say. Aaron, at some point, has to die. And then one of these houses of priests will then take rule. You know, so I knew this, so I was like, okay, y'all, which priest? You know, and, you know, he answered me, but before we get into that, let's consider the priestly duties. Because the priests were commanded to do some stuff. You know, and they had 3 pillars, if you would, or 3 main things that they held sacred. You know, that they would believe that they had to do in all cases, and that was safeguard the sacred place. They believed that they had to safeguard the sacred place. You know, they were put there to guard the temple. You know, and before that they guarded the tabernacle. Amen. You know, they were put in place to safeguard the sacred time. See, because, you know, if they didn't have the time right, then they wouldn't know when to open the temple. And they wouldn't know when to do what they were supposed to do at the temple. And the third thing is they were entrusted to safeguard the sacred service. You know, so within this, you know, we see that the calendar issue was actually an issue that was entrusted to the priest. You know, because everything was centered around the temple. That was the center of worship service for Israel. The tabernacle as well as the temple. And they were entrusted to safeguard the sacred place, the sacred time, and the sacred service. All right? So, I was advised to take it slow, so we're going to do a recap. All right. So, thus far, we have the Creator's calendar is the issue at hand. Amen? Who's right or wrong concerning this issue is dependent upon who you ask. But the one we should be asking is Elohim. Amen? Yochanan 1:1 and some supporting verses. Yochanan 5:39, Revelation 1:8, 1:11 teaches us that the word is Elohim. So to ask Elohim is to ask the word. Amen? So we asked the word, and the word taught us that the Aaronic priesthood within the place that Yahuwah would choose, i.e. the temple, was put in place to answer questions relating to the Torah given to Moshe. Right? The Aaronic priesthood had 3 primary duties. That is the safeguard of the sacred place, the sacred times, and the sacred services. Amen? The word also taught us that there are 2 houses of priests, which stem from Aaron's 2 sons. That is Eleazar and Ithamar. Now the question becomes, which of the 2 houses are we to adhere to? Especially seeing that there can only be one high priest who has the ultimate say at a time. You know, so we're going to ask the word and see what the word has to tell us. You know, so that's the end of our recap. So before we get into that, I just want to give this quote. It says, Elohim always gives his best to those who leave the choice with him. I thought that was wonderful. All right, let me have my next reader read Numbers 20, 23 through 28, please.
And Yahuwah spake unto Moses and Aaron in Mount Hor by the coast of the land of Edom, saying, Aaron shall be gathered unto his people, for he shall not enter into the land which I have given unto the children of Israel, because ye rebelled against my word at the water of Meribah, take Aaron and Eleazar, his son, and bring them up unto my hor, and strip Aaron of his garment, and put them upon Eleazar his son, and Aaron shall be gathered unto his people, and shall die there. And Moses did as Yahuwah commanded, and they went up into Mount Hor in the sight of all the congregation. And Moshe stripped Aaron of his garment, and put them upon Eleazar his son, and Aaron died there in the top of the mount. And Moshe and Eleazar came down from the mount.
Hallelujah. Okay, so hereby we learned that Yahuwah chose Eleazar.
Yes.
Amen. Aaron dies, Eleazar's son was chosen, and Moshe was told to put the high priest garments on Eleazar. Amen. All right, Numbers 25, 1 through 9. It reads, it says, "And Israel abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab, and they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods. And the people did eat and bowed down to their gods. And Israel joined himself unto Baal Peor. And the anger of Yahuwah was kindled against Israel. And Yahuwah said unto Moshe, Take all the heads of the people and hang them up before Yahuwah against the sun, that the fierce anger of Yahuwah may be turned away from Israel. And Moshe said unto the judges of Israel, Slay ye every one his men that were joined unto Baal Peor. And behold, one of the children of Israel came and brought unto his brethren a Midianitish woman in the sight of Moshe, and in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Israel, who were weeping before the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And when Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, saw it, he rose up from among the congregation and took a javelin in his hand. And he went after the man of Israel into the tent and thrust both of them through, the man of Israel and the woman through her belly, so that the plague was stayed from the children of Israel. And those that died in the plague were 24,000. It goes on to say, and Yahuwah spake unto Moshe, saying, Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, have turned my wrath away from the children of Israel, while he was zealous for my sake among them, that I consume not the children of Israel in my jealousy.
Hallelujah.
Wherefore say, Behold, I give unto him my covenant of peace, and he shall have it, and his seed after him, even a covenant of an everlasting priesthood,
Hallelujah.
because he was zealous for his Elohim, and made an atonement for the children of Israel. Okay, so hereby we learn that not only was the house of Eleazar chosen to be high priest after Aaron, his son that would succeed him, was given an everlasting covenant, a covenant of peace, that he would have an everlasting priesthood. Amen?
Amen.
So, thus far, Yah seems to favor the house of Eleazar over the house of Ithamar. In fact, we don't hear of a high priest of the house of Ithamar until Eli, the contemporary of the prophet and last judge of Israel, Samuel ben Elkanah. Therefore, let us consider the priestly house of Eli. It's found in 1 Samuel 2:27 through 29. It says, And there came a man of Elohim unto Eli, and said unto him, Thus saith Yahuwah, Did I plainly appear unto the house of thy father, and when they were in Egypt, in Mizraim, in Pharaoh's house, and did I choose him out of the tribes of Israel to be my priest, to offer upon mine altar, to burn incense, to wear an ephod before me? And did I give unto the house of thy father all the offerings made by fire of the children of Israel? Wherefore keep ye at my sacrifice and mine offering which I have commanded in my habitation, and honorest thy sons above me, to make yourselves fat with the chiefest of all things of Israel, my people. Sound like y'all love said, huh? It goes on to say, Wherefore Yahuwah Elohim of Israel saith, I said indeed that thy house and the house of thy father should walk before me forever. But now Yahuwah saith, Be it far from me. For them that honor me will I honor, and they that despise me shall be lightly esteemed. Behold, the days come that I will cut off thine arm and the arm of thy father's house, and there shall not be an old man in thine house. And thou shalt see an enemy in my habitation, and in all the wealth which Elohim shall give Israel, there shall not be an old man in thine house forever. And the man of thine, whom I shall cut off from mine altar, shall be to consume thine eyes and to grieve thine heart. And all the increase of thine house shall die in the flower of their age. And this shall be a sign unto thee that shall come upon the two sons of Hophni and Phinehas. In one day shall die both of them. And I will raise me up a faithful priest
Hallelujah.
that shall do according to that which is in mine heart and in my mind. And I will build him a sure house. And he shall walk before mine anointed forever. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left in the house shall come and crouch to him for a piece of silver and a morsel of bread, and shall say, put me, I pray thee, into one of the priest offices, that I may eat a piece of bread. You know, so it's clear to see that Yah was pretty much upset with the house of Eli. Amen. So much so that he pronounced a curse upon them. You know, let me have my next reader read 1 Samuel 3:11 through 14.
And Yahuwah said unto Samuel, Behold, I will do a thing in Israel, at which both the ears of everyone that heareth it shall tingle. And in that day I will perform against Eli in all things which I have spoken concerning his house. When I begin, I will also make an end. For I have told him that I will judge his house forever for the iniquity which he knoweth, because his sons made themselves vile, and he restrained them not. And therefore I have sworn unto the house of Eli, that the iniquity of Eli's house shall not be purged with sacrifice, nor offerings forever.
Hallelujah. Hold on to the mic for a second, sis. You know, now, so we see that Yah is truly upset. He gives a second witness to the curse. Amen. You know, and remember, the sign that it was going to come to pass was that both his sons would die in one day, right? Remember that? That's the sign. Okay, sis, read 1 Samuel 4:15 through 18.
Now Eli was 90 and 80 years old, and his eyes were dim, that he could not see. And the man said unto Eli, I am he that came out of the army, and I flee today out of the army. And he said, What is there done, my son? And the messenger answered and said, Israel is fled before the Philistines, and there has been also a great slaughter among the people. And thy two sons also, Hophni and Phinehas, are dead, and the ark of Elohim is taken. And it came to pass, when he made mention of the ark of Elohim, that he fell from off the seat backwards by the side of the gate, and his neck brake, and he died. And he was an old man and heavy, and he had judged Israel 40 years.
Hallelujah. Okay, so we see the sign have come to pass. The two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, died in one day, just like Yah said, right? Okay, so we're going to continue on, and we're going to see the fulfillment of it. 1 Samuel 22:13 through 19, and it reads, And Saul said unto him, Why have ye conspired against me, thou and the son of Jesse, in that thou hast given him bread and a sword, and hast inquired of Elohim for him, that he should rise against me to lie in wait as at this day? Then Achimelech answered the king and said, And who is so faithful among all thy servants as David, which is the king's son-in-law, and goeth at thy bidding, and is honorable in thine house? Did I not begin to inquire of Elohim for him? Be it far from me, let not the king impute anything unto his servant, nor to all the house of my father. For thy servant knew nothing of all this, less or more. And the king said, Thou shalt surely die, Achimelech, thou and all thy father's house. And the king said unto the footmen that stood about him, Turn and slay the priest of Yahuwah, because their hand also is with David, and because they knew when he fled and did not show it unto me. But the servants of the king would not put forth their hand to fall upon the priest of Yahuwah. And the king said to Doeg, Turn thou and fall upon the priest. And Doeg the Edomite turned, and he fell upon the priest, and slew that day fourscore and 5 persons that did wear a linen ephod. And Nob, the city of the priests, smote he with the edge of the sword, both men, women, children, and sucklings, and oxen, and buttocks, and sheep with the edge of the sword. Took out the whole house
Yes.
of Eli.
Yes.
Can you see that? Is that not Yah bringing forth, that curse upon them?
Yes.
Killed them all, just about. I say just about because when we go to verses 20, 1 Samuel 22, 20 through 23, it says, and one of the sons of Kimelech, the son of Akitub, named Abiathar, escaped and fled unto David. And Abiathar showed David that Saul had slain Yahuwah's priest. And David said unto Abiathar, I knew it that day when Doeg the Edomite was there, that he would surely tell Saul, I have occasioned the death of all the persons of thy father's house. Abide thou with me, fear not, for he that seeketh my life seeketh thy life, but with me thou shalt be in safeguard. And if you so happen to be of the house of Eli, ultimately the house of Ithamar, you do have safeguard in Yah's beloved. But you got to stick with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
1 Samuel 23, 6 through 10. And it came to pass when Abiathar, the son of Achimelech, fled to David to Keilah, that he came down with an ephod in his hand. And it was told Saul that David was come to Keilah, and Saul said, Elohim hath delivered him into my hand, for he is shut in by entering into a town that hath gates and bars. And Saul called all the people together to war to go down to Keilah to besiege David and his men. And David knew that Saul secretly practiced mischief against him, and he said to Abiathar the priest, bring hither the ephod. Then said David, O Yahuwah Elohim of Israel, thy servant hath certainly heard that Saul seeketh to come to Keilah to destroy the city for my sake. And so what I'm showing there is that Abiathar had favor with David.
Yes.
And let me have my next reader read 1 Samuel 22, 20 through 23, and chapter 23, 6 through 10, please.
And one of the sons of Achimelech, the son of Ahitub, named Abiathar, escaped and fled after David. And Abiathar showed David that Saul had slain Yahuwah's priest. And David said unto Abiathar, I knew it that day when Doeg the Edomite was there, that he would surely tell Saul, I have occasioned the death of all the persons of thy father's house. Abide thou with me, fear not, for he that seeketh my life seeketh thy life. But with me thou shalt be in safeguard. 23:6. And it came to pass when Abiathar the son of Achimelech fled to David to Keilah, that he came down with an ephod in his hand. And it was told Saul that David was come to Keilah. And Saul said, Elohim hath delivered him into my hand, for he is shut in by entering into a town that hath gates and bars. And Saul called all the people together to war, to go down to Keilah, to besiege David and his men. And David knew that Saul secretly practiced mischief against him. And he said to Abiathar the priest, bring hither the ephod. Then said David, O Yahuwah, Elohim of Israel,
Yes.
thy servant hath certainly heard
Yes.
that Saul seeketh to come to Keilah to destroy the city for my sake.
Hallelujah. I'm sorry. That was so good we had to read it
Yes.
twice. First Samuel 23, 11 and 12. Will the men Keilah deliver me up into his hand? Will Saul come down as thy servant have heard? O Yahuwah Elohim of Israel, I beseech thee, tell thy servant. And Yahuwah said, he will come down. Then said David, will the men of Keilah deliver me and my men into the hand of Saul? And Yahuwah said, they will deliver thee up. Now keep in mind, they just saved him. 1 Samuel 33 through 8. So David and his men came to the city, and behold, it was burned with fire, and their wives and their sons and their daughters were taken captive. Then David and the people that were with him lifted up their voice and wept until they had no more power to weep. And David's 2 wives were taken captives Ahinoam the Israelitess, and Abigail, the wife of Nabal, the Carmelite. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spake of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and his daughters. But David encouraged himself in Yahuwah, his Elohim. And David said to Abiathar, the priest, Ahimelech's son, I pray thee, bring me hither the ephod. And Abiathar brought thither the ephod to David, and David inquired at Yahuwah, saying, shall I pursue after this troop? Shall I overtake them? And he answered, pursue, for thou shalt surely overtake them, and without fail recover all. And David, okay, so what I was wanted to show was that Abiathar was, like I say, he was with David, and he served David well. You know, 2 Samuel 8:15 through 17, Zadok enters into the story. You know, and David reigned over all Israel, and David executed judgment and justice unto all his people. And Joab, the son of Zeruiah, was over the host, and Jehoshaphat, the son of Ahilud, was recorder. And Zadok, the son of Ahitub, and Ahimelech, the son of Abiathar, were the priests. And Seraiah was the scribe. So we see that both houses of the priests is represented. Zadok is a descendant of Eleazar. Ahimelech is a descendant of Ithamar. So we see both of them here. You know, so 2 Samuel 15:10, but Absalom sent spies throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, as soon as ye hear the sound of the trumpet, then ye shall say, Absalom reigneth in Hebron. So this is, of course, when Absalom tried to usurp the throne. You know, verses 24 and 25 of 2 Samuel 15. And lo, Zadok also and all the Levites were with him, bearing the ark of the covenant of Elohim, and they set down the ark of Elohim, and Abiathar went up until all the people had done passing out of the city. And the king said unto Zadok, carry back the ark of Elohim into the city, and if I shall find favor in the eyes of Yahuwah, he will bring me again and show me both it and his habitation. So we see both priesthoods helping out King David. Let me have my next reader read verses 32 through 37 of 2 Samuel 15.
And it came to pass that when David was come to the top of the mount where he worshipped Elohim, behold, Hushai the Archite came to meet him with his coat rent, and earth upon his head. Unto whom David said, if thou passest on with me, then thou shalt be a burden unto me. But if thou return to the city, and say to Absalom, I will be thy servant, O king, as I have been thy father's servant hitherto, so will not I now also be thy servant. Then mayest thou for me defeat the counsel of Achithophel. And hast thou not there with thee Zadok and Abiathar the priests? Therefore it shall be, that what thing soever thou shalt hear out of the king's house, thou shalt tell it to Zadok and Abiathar the priests. Behold, they have there with them their two sons, Ahimaaz Zadok's son, and Jonathan Abiathar's son. And by them ye shall send unto thee me everything that ye can hear. So Hushai, David's friend, came into the city, and Absalom came into Jerusalem.
Keep going, please.
And it came to pass that when David was come to the top of the mount, where he worshipped Elohim, behold, Hushai the Archite came to meet him with his coat rent, and earth upon his head. Unto whom David said, if thou passest on with me, then thou shalt be a burden unto me. But if thou return to the city, and say unto Absalom, I will be thy servant, O king, as I have been thy father's servant hitherto, so will I now also be thy servant. Then mayest thou for me defeat the counsel of Achithophel. And hast thou not there with thee Zadok and Abiathar the priests? Therefore it shall be, that what thing soever thou shalt hear out of the king's house, thou shalt tell it to Zadok and Abiathar the priests. Behold, they have there with them their two sons, Ahimaaz and Zadok's son, and Jonathan Abiathar's son. And by them ye shall send them unto me everything that ye can hear. So Hushai, David's friend, came into the city, and Absalom came into Jerusalem.
Hallelujah. So we see both the house of Eleazar and the house of Ithamar, both working hand in hand with King David, and we know King David represents Yahushua, amen? You know, and so we see both of them, you know, working hand in hand together. Now it will come to pass that Hushai will go on to become a double agent and successfully defeat the counsel of Ahithophel, and both priestly houses worked in unity to assist King David. You know, but David would eventually die. 1 Kings 1:1, now King David was old and stricken in years, and they covered him with clothes, but he got no heat. Okay, so he got old and he was all ready to die, and this is where the division comes into place. The division comes into play. In 1 Kings 1:5-8, it says, Then Adoniah, the son of Haggith, exalted himself, saying, I will be king. Nobody told him to do this. You know, he exalted himself, you see it says. And it prepared him chariots and horsemen and 50 men to run before him. And his father had not displeased him at any time in saying, Why hast thou done so? And he also was a very goodly man, and his mother bare him after Absalom. And he conferred with Joab, the son of Zeruiah, and with Abiathar, the priest, and they following Adoniah helped him. But Zadok, the priest, and Benaniah, the son of Jehoiada, and Nathan, and the prophet, and Shimei, and Rei, and the mighty men which belonged to David were not with Adoniah. We're going to jump down to verses 24-27. So we see right here, you know, Abiathar is with one of them, Zadok is with the other, right? And Nathan said, My Adonai, O king, hast thou said, Adonai shall reign after me, and he shall sit upon my throne? For he is gone down this day, and have slain oxen and fat cattle and sheep in abundance, and have called all the king's sons and the captains of the host and Abiathar the priest. Behold, they eat and drink before him, and say, Elohim saved King Adoniah. But me, even thy servant, and Zadok the priest, and Benaniah, and the son of Jehoiada, and the servant of Solomon, and thy servant Solomon have he not called. And this thing done, my Adonai, my Lord the King, and thou hast not showed it unto thy servant. You know, is this thing done by my Lord the King, and thou hast not showed it unto thy servant, who should sit on the throne of my Lord after the King, the Lord the King after him? Who did you choose to succeed you? You know, King David, that's what he asking. You know, verses 30-35. Even as I swear unto thee by Yahuwah Elohim of Israel, saying, Assuredly Solomon thy son shall reign after me, and he shall sit upon my throne in my stead. Even so will I certainly do this day. Then Bathsheba bowed with her face to the earth and did reverence to the king, and said, Let my Lord King David live forever. And King David said, Call me Zadok the priest, and Nathan the prophet, and Benaniah and the son of Jehoiada. And they came before the king. And the king also said unto them, Take with you the servants of your Lord, and call Solomon my son to ride upon mine own mule, and bring him down to Gihon. And let Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet anoint him there king over Israel. And blow ye the trumpet, and say, Elohim save the King Solomon. Then ye shall come up after him, that he may come and sit upon my throne. For he shall be king in my stead, and I have appointed him to be ruler over Israel and Yahudah. Let me have my next reader read verses 22-27 in 1 Kings 2:35, please.
And King Solomon answered and said, Y'all hear me?
I'll push the button in the middle.
And King Solomon answered and said unto his mother, And why dost thou ask Abishag the Shunammite for Adoniah? Ask for him the kingdom also, for he is mine elder brother, even for him, and for Abiathar the priest, and for Joab the son of Zeruiah. The king Solomon swore by Yahweh, saying, Elohim do so to me, and more also, if Adoniah has not spoken this word against his own life. Now therefore, saith Yahweh liveth, which hath established me and set me on the throne of David my father, and who hath made me an house, as he promised, Adoniah shall be put to death this day. And King Solomon sent by the hand of Benaiah the son of Jehadiah, and he fell upon him that he died. And unto Abiathar the priest said unto the king, Get thee to Anathoth unto thine own field, for thou art worthy of death. But I will not at this time put thee to death, because thou bearest the ark of Adonai, Yahweh, before David thy father, before David my father, and because thou hast been afflicted in all wherein my father was afflicted. So Solomon thrust out Abiathar from being the priest unto Yahweh, that he might fulfill the word of Yahweh, which he spake concerning the house of Eli in Shiloh. And the king put Benaiah the son of Jehoiada in his room over the host, and Zadok the priest did the king put in the room of Abiathar.
Okay, so hereby we learn that, Solomon, he ultimately gets the throne, and of course he's a type of Messiah as well as being the Prince of Peace, the King of Peace, and so it says, then King Solomon swore by Yahuwah, saying, Elohim, do so to me, and more so if Adonai have not spoken this word against his own life. He recognized that they were plotting to once again try to usurp the kingdom, usurp the throne. And so, so it seems as that Solomon was still wise even before Yah bestowed upon him, the extra wisdom. He was wise enough to see that that was a plot for his life, and to take the throne. And so he thrust out Abiathar from being the priest unto Yahuwah. So this was the end of the house of Eli being high priest. This is when he put Zadok, who was a descendant of Eleazar, the priest, did the king put in the room of Abiathar. So now Zadok the priest became the high priest, and of course, Solomon would go on to build the first temple of Elohim. And the Zadokite priest served in that temple, for over 1,000 years, even until the second temple. We're going to stop here, and we'll pick it up next time from this point. So that's all I have for you today.